All right, everyone, there's a lawsuit now in the state of Oregon. A 20-year-old there went to Dick's Sporting Goods. I believe before the 21-plus gun ban actually took effect, tried to buy a gun. Was told, no, you're not 21, so you're not allowed to buy a gun in the state of Oregon. Then he went over to Walmart, tried to do the same thing again, was told, you're not 21, now suing on the basis of the violation of his rights. I stand by him. He's absolutely right. Here's why. We've got a legal precedent already. The concept of equal protection under the law, for instance, has already been explicitly used to cause private business entities to force them to do business that they may find objectionable in some manner. It's the bake the fucking cake thing, basically. Prefaced on these Christian bakeries. You have a right to go in and get your wedding cake. If you want two male figures on top, they can't say, no, you can't do that here. It's become a little bit messy, and I'm not sure exactly how I feel in all cases about it. I think there's a difference between a mom and pop bakery and maybe a national chain. One being run out of like the family barn or something. I'm not sure that the threshold should be considered the same in many purposes. One of them, although it's a business, it is also, technically, in some cases, it's on a residential property. We've had cases where people have been sued because they didn't want to use their family property, like their farm that they advertise as being like for weddings. They didn't want to have a gay wedding. They get sued. Yeah, but it's their private property too, and I think that it should be different. But if you can construe equal protection under the law as having something to do with your right to obtain a gay wedding cake, certainly, how much more would you have the right to obtain a firearm if you have achieved the age of majority, it is otherwise lawful? That is a specifically enshrined right. The Constitution explicitly says, yeah, by the way, you have the right to keep and bear arms. The militia will not be infringed, the militia being the private population, well regulated in the sense of 1700s era English, if you know anything about it. Now, of course, has nothing to do with regulated in the sense of, the government passes regulations. No, it means that literally the militia is capable of functioning, as in people have enough arms and ammunition to be called up if necessary to do so. Has also, by the way, nothing to do with a military that didn't even exist when the Constitution was actually put into effect. So, that's specifically protected. Wedding cake is not specifically protected, and yet Congress and the courts can come forth and say, well, yeah, we're construing it in that manner. Yes, you have equal protection under the law. You can be discriminated against. This private business can't refuse you service that it would otherwise give to other people who would be eligible. An 18-year-old is allowed to buy a gun. Now, there are several problems. No, we've already got a different precedent too. We've got, for instance, reciprocal carry. The concept at the federal level is you have the right to concealed carry a firearm. Federal government can't stop you. It's legal in most states, most of the better states. If a person is concealed carrying, they have a right to continue to concealed carry through reciprocal carry. They go to a different state, they can continue to do so. They can't be thrown in jail for what a native citizen would not necessarily within that state be able to do, because of course they also have the right to travel. So you already have this precedent. So why wouldn't, therefore, it be perfectly legal? If a person is capable of buying a firearm, age 18, 19, 20 in some other state, why wouldn't that be reciprocal as well, number one? Number two, it's unenforceable. Somebody can go across state lines and buy a weapon. They can straw purchase and buy a weapon. Number three, if a person has achieved the age of majority, their constitutional rights cannot be infringed. If a person has reached the age of 18, they have the right to speak, they have a right to own a firearm, they have all of the other various rights enumerated within the Constitution. They are in full effect. And I would say also, there's a little bit of a pragmatic argument here. A little bit of a it's fucking common sense argument. It makes absolutely no sense to say to an 18 or 19-year-old in Oregon, well, you can join the U.S. military, we'll teach you all about these weapons, you can go into a foreign combat zone and blow things up. Perfectly all right. You're perfectly rational and capable of doing that. This is what the government says. You can do that. But you can't own a gun here because, it's scary. You might shoot somebody. We wouldn't want you to defend yourself effectively. So in other words, an 18-year-old in Oregon can own a house, but they can't defend it with a firearm. They have to do something else in the meantime. I guess they have to buy several large dogs. They have to set up an electric fence and carry a baseball bat because they can't own a firearm. How wonderful it would be because now they're going to have to like buy a bodyguard or something. It makes no sense at all. I guess I'll have to date someone over 21. And that would be the other problem. For instance, let's say that you have a couple. One of them's 21, the other's 20. One of them can own a gun, apparently the other cannot purchase a gun. What happens when they buy one and keep in the house? What happens if the other individual uses it, the home is being broken into, and they defend themselves? You're setting yourself up for a legal swamp that you do not want to tread upon. No, this is absolutely unconstitutional. It's utterly in violation of the Constitution. If a person can vote, they can join the military and do everything else. And don't give me the alcohol argument. I've seen this several times. Well, you know, the government can prevent you from buying alcohol if you're not 21. Alcohol is not constitutionally protected. There is no part in the Constitution that references alcohol other than, hey, we're prohibiting things and, oh, prohibition has ended. There's no constitutional guarantee the government shall not infringe your ability to get wasted regardless of your age. Personally, by the way, I would actually side with the pro-alcohol argument on that one for pragmatic purposes. I think it's, you know, totally fucking moronic. But there's no specific constitutional protection. But firearms, absolutely. Second Amendment, the right to defend yourself. It's not just, by the way, firearms. In Texas, it's been construed as being even a broadsword. Yeah, you can carry around a broadsword. We don't care. Because for a while there, they actually, because of their bladed weapons laws, actually a Bowie knife, you wouldn't have been able to carry that around despite the fact that it's sort of the symbol of Texas, you know, slaughtering people. So it became a little bit of a public image crisis, I think, among some people within the population. So yeah, you can carry a broadsword around in Texas now. You can have a bayonet mounted in the back of your truck with no problems. You can carry around your machete and nobody can do anything about it. I support that fully, by the way. That's the true interpretation of the Second Amendment, is quite literally, there won't be any restriction on these sorts of small arms. Yeah, you can carry them. You can do whatever you want. The exception is certain federal properties and state properties can say, no, we're you know, you have to check it at the door, basically. It's the only acceptable situation, constitutionally speaking. So yeah, I absolutely stand behind this lawsuit. He will win. It's going to be found that it's unconstitutional. A person cannot be deprived of their constitutional rights once they've hit the age of majority. It's fucking cut and dry. It's not going to take long for the courts to chew this concept up, spit it out, and then you will never have, ever again, by the way, anything akin to this on any level, state or national. And it'll be wonderful, because it'll set a legal precedent. These other states that are attempting to institute a 21 age ban on guns, I wish that I was 20 right now, for the sole purpose of hoping that the state of Vermont would pass that so I could go down the next day and try to buy a firearm and then sue. Because he's going to make millions of dollars off of this, probably. Violating someone's constitutional rights. Can you imagine if the government tried to muzzle someone's First Amendment rights? Everyone would come out in support of him, and yet you see very little about this right now, except the NRA will talk about it. Some people who are partisan, a few GOPers will talk about it. Everyone else, hands off. Oh no, there was something happened in Parkland. We don't want to discuss this right now. We're not going to defend him. We want this because Trump says it's a good idea. It's not a good idea. It's unconstitutional. It'll get shot down, along probably with mental health background checking if it's ever seriously implemented. Now, I guarantee it's like here in Vermont, they're saying, well, maybe we're going to implement a system where we can take guns away from people who might be an imminent threat to others. Again, I'm waiting for the first situation in which you accidentally take firearms away, or probably get fucking killed in the process trying. I'm waiting for the first situation in which it turns out there was no credible threat. And a court finds that and they say, how can this possibly be? It's so arbitrary. You're talking about violating someone's Second Amendment rights on an arbitrary whim. Unconstitutional. You can't do that. And that person is going to be sitting pretty for the rest of their life. They're going to be washing themselves with gold dust and laying on a bed made entirely of Benjamins at that point. It's going to be funny. So I can't wait to see the result of the lawsuit because it's so fucking cut and dry. It's such an easy case. Literally, he sues. He gets a lawyer right away. Like 10 minutes later, he probably had 5 or 6 people following him around watching, just recording it. They're all lawyers. They're, please pick me. Trust me, I'll do it pro bono. Here, just give me a little cut when you inevitably win. Give me a little bit of that 7-figure total that you're going to become privy to. Don't worry about your student loans, kid. You've got it made. He's going to win. It's going to be funny. That's about all. Peace out.